All right, let's get started today. We are going to be talking about sending the survey. We're also talking about doing some personalization of your survey using custom variables. We covered this in a special free training more in depth. Today we're going to take it just a little bit higher level, but we'll still show you how to use custom variables. We'll talk about our distribution options within QuestionPro as well. Anytime during the webinar today, please, or the training session, please feel free to submit your questions using the Q&A module within GoToWebinar. And I have Harry Pillai with me from our team to help answer those questions live, and also I will do my best to answer them while we're going through this training session. All right, so sending the survey, what we're going to cover today, we're going to, of course, cover some best practices. I like to do that each week. This is our third week of 4 weekly training sessions on QuestionPro and all of the features within QuestionPro. So we're going to do some best practices related to personalization and distribution of a survey. We're going to talk about the custom variables and how you can use them to personalize your survey, as well as personalize an email invitation. And then we're going to do a little bit with the email distribution, show you how you can use that, as well as do a quick overview of the other distribution options. That should take us about to the half-hour mark, and then we'll take some questions afterwards. So please, again, if you're just joining us, feel free to use the Q&A module in QuestionPro, or excuse me, in GoToWebinar to submit questions. And we're going to be talking about personalizing and using custom variables for your survey, as well as distributing your survey from within QuestionPro. So first, let's talk some best practices as they relate to personalization and distribution of your survey. First, let's cover this elephant in the room, how much personalization is too much. So personalization, when we talk about that, we're talking about making the survey really geared towards the individual who is taking the survey. And that usually means using some information that you already know about them. For example, if I'm a store, I likely have information about who my customers are, what they've purchased, when they purchased, how much they purchased it for, when were they last in the business or in my store. Especially if I have online information and online presence, I'm probably going to have that information as well. So when it comes to using that information in a survey, you want to be sure that you're using just enough to make it personal, but not enough to make it, frankly, a little creepy. So usually a good rule of thumb for that is if you would be a little uncomfortable taking the survey yourself, if another business were putting that much information about you and your purchase experience into the survey, don't do it. So use that rule of thumb, and you should be pretty good to go. So just because you have the information doesn't mean you should include it in the survey. Now, when it comes to the invitation itself, make sure that it's very clear. There are some key things that you want to include in your invitation. The first is the purpose of your survey. Let your respondents know why you are inviting them to participate. Let them know about how long it may take. This is a great opportunity for setting the stage for them, and it will help them decide if they want to take the time or not. State if you will be asking for PII, or personally identifiable information. This is information that can be used to go directly back to an individual, such as the big ones are first name, last name, using any kind of employee ID number, using any kind of information that can be used to go directly, an email address that can be used to go directly back to an individual. There are cases where you want to ask for it. There are cases where you don't want to ask for it. But if you are going to include that as in your survey, be sure that you're letting them know up front. And if you do let them know up front, then also give your privacy policy so they know how you're going to be using that information. And then if you are going to be issuing rewards, make sure that you state if there are rewards and how to qualify for those rewards. Another rule for PII, if you're asking for it, make sure that you state whether or not it's going to be optional or required for them to include that information so that you can, again, give them that option. And then last, which invitation method to use. There's a lot of information about response rates and what is best for getting those high response rates that we all want. Email and phone still showing the best response rates, but mobile is catching up. So questions or surveys that are created in QuestionPro are all mobile optimized, which means that they're going to look good on a mobile device. So you can certainly use that, and make sure that you also take into consideration your audience that is going to be responding to your survey. Look at how they interact with you, and that is going to be how you want to reach out to them. And don't be worried about trying one method and following up with a second. For example, there is one company that I do business with. They always have that end of a survey receipt, a bottom of a receipt sign that says, please take our survey, here's the link. But they follow up with an email afterwards to invite me to take that survey. I am much more likely to take it with that follow-up email than I am to type in the link off of the receipt. So try one method, follow up with a second. And that ends our best practices section of this. So let's dive into QuestionPro and take a look at how this all plays out within QuestionPro. So we have here a customer satisfaction survey that we've generated. It has an intro here, talks about thank you for your recent purchase. We're saying up front that you get a chance at a $25 gift card. And then we have our questions. And you'll see that these questions, there's only a little bit of logic. Do you still use your phone at least once a day? If they say no, then it jumps down to the end of the survey because we're really interested in people who are using their phones a lot. So this is a pretty straightforward survey that we're using. And you'll see at the very end, we're asking for their first name, last name, and email so that they can get that gift card or get that entry for obtaining a gift card. So now what we want to do is we want to give this a little personal touch. So let's look at what we can do to personalize this particular survey. So the first thing that we can do is we can create a custom variable off of a text field. So we included a new question that says, for the purpose of the survey, please enter the name you like to go by. Now let's go into the logic menu. And once you see that logic menu, you'll see that we have the follow-up question, which is thanks, and then we use their name. But you'll also see this piping text on the side. So I've used custom variable 7 because I already have, I'll show you in a little bit, an email list that has 6 custom variables already used. And so we know that custom 7 is open and available. So we're going to map this to custom variable 7, and we're going to leave this information blank. And that means that whatever they enter is what is going to pipe through. Now the reason I'm doing this is because then I can use custom variable 7 later in the survey. So I need to set up my branching to go on to the next question or wherever I want it to go. I also get my default destination branching. So we set up our branching, we set up the piping, and now we save that logic. And you'll see here, for me to call out a custom variable, I need to know the number of the variable that I'm using. And then in order for me to call it out, I just use this $, curly bracket, custom 7, or whatever the number is of the variable that I'm using, close curly bracket. Now I can make this custom 1, custom 2, custom whatever. We have up to 255 custom variables that you can save in QuestionPro. So I have included that custom variable, and you'll see I also included some other information here. So let's take a look at our Excel spreadsheet that has been created that has this information. First, we're going to go to Send Survey. And because I want to use this information for sending the survey out, I'm going to go Manage Email Lists. We're going to create a new email list. That's going to bring up an option box. So I can enter a list name. So we'll say here, March purchase history. And now I have the option of either making this a survey-specific list or a global list. The difference, of course, being if I make it global, it's available for any survey. If I make it survey-specific, I'm only going to be sending it or using it for this particular survey. So I'm going to make this a global list because I want to use this for maybe another follow-up survey. And then I have another couple of options. I can upload a file with email addresses in either CSV or Excel format, CSV for the comma delimited, comma separated values. So that can be an export from a database. Or I can copy or paste the email addresses here. I'm going to go with this upload, and we'll select the file format. So we have under the Pro accounts, you can upload using an email address, or you can do email address, first name, last name. And then with a corporate license, you can do the email address and then up to 255 variables. Email address, first name, last name, and up to 255 variables. Email address, language, so this is if you're creating a multilingual survey, you upload the language so that they have it as an option for which one they want to take it in, and then those 255 variables. And what this does is the person, when they click their link, they will automatically have the survey in the language that you've associated with their information. Or I can do first name, last name, password, and then up to 255 variables. So let me tell you a little caveat here about using first name, last name. If I choose one of the options that says first name, last name, I can only use the name portion in the email invitation. I can't use it in the survey itself. So if I want to use that information in the survey itself, I want to select this first option of field 1, field 2, which is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to select field 1, field 2. We'll go and choose the file. And we're going to skip the first line because I have the header information in there. And now we'll upload the file. So now you'll see that I have information here, and I have these custom fields. I have custom 1 through 5 are the ones that are showing, but I have other information as well. So I'll finish that. And now I have the email addresses uploaded, and I'm ready to go. So you saw that in each of those columns, I had information that I'm going to use as custom variables within my survey. I can also use them as custom variables within the context of the invitation, and we'll see that in a moment. But first, let's keep personalizing our survey. So we have, you recently purchased A, and we have the name of the phone as custom 4, and the date that they purchased it as custom 3. Now, if I want to, I can go and I can map these variables as well, but let's add them all in, and then I'll show you how to map the custom variables. So we've updated this particular survey with some more of the custom information, with more of those custom variables. We say, according to our records, you paid this amount for your phone. Please indicate if you're happy with that price. And then we can pre-fill information here in the open-ended text fields with information that we already have about them. So in order to do that, we are going to first create our open-ended text field. This is an open-ended text question, and I'll show you that here. We go to text, and we used a comment box for this. Now, we can use contact info, but unfortunately right now we don't have the mapping correct between the custom variables to the contact info. So with the comment box, we can have multiple lines here. So for example, if I create first name, last name, and email address, then I can have that information pipe in, and each of these will be a separate line, just as you saw in our example. All right, so we've done that, and now what we're going to do we have our question, and we're going to go click Logic. Actually, we're going to click More, and we're going to click Settings. Now here we're going to go to Advanced Settings, and you'll see that each of these is listed as a separate question. Now, if I go to Advanced Settings, this is where I can do my data pre-population. So I can select the variable that is listed, and I can map that to the field that I want it to pre-populate. So now, if someone is going in here and we already have information about them, we can just say, please review the information we have on file, instead of asking them to put all of their information back in. Now you'll see that for email, I have custom variable 6. If I want to use email address in the context of the survey, I need to have it repeated in my file, my Excel file that has that information. So let me open up that Excel file so you can see what I'm referring to. All right, so you'll see here that we have a bunch of information about people, and we have the different items that we're going to be pulling into the survey listed. You'll see that I have email address listed once, and then I have it listed again. This is because I want to be able to call the email address into the survey and not just use it for the purposes of distributing my survey. So I've included purchase date price, I've included phone purchase, I've included price. When you're including a date in Excel, be sure that you include it as text. When I tested this previously, it pulled in the date information in my responses a little wonky. It just included a timestamp of 12 a.m. no matter what date I put in. So if you want to avoid that, just use text and you can put that information in. So there's my Excel file, and why I have custom 6 has email address so that I can loop it back into the survey, call it in. All right, so we're going to save that question. Now I've had to remember a lot of this custom 1, custom 2, and what I mapped everything to. There's an easier way for me to do that. I can go More, and then choose Custom Variable Mapping. And here I can actually select each of these custom variables, give them a display name, that is how they're going to show up on my report. And then where I have that curly brackets custom 1, curly brackets custom 2, etc., I can actually change that code here. So I can make this FN for first name, custom variable 2 was last name, I can call that LN, and you'll see I can do that. I can add more variables, I can add up to those 255 if I want, and I can choose a display name and choose the code that I'm going to use in the context of my survey. So it's an easier way for me to be able to call them in and not have to remember custom 1 was first name and custom 6 was email. Instead, I can do that here. All right, so we've used our custom variables. We have uploaded our email list, our list here. And now we want to manage our invitations. So we're going to go to Survey Invitation, and we're going to create a new survey invitation. Now you'll see that I already have a couple of templates ready. So I have the default template as well as template 1. I can have up to 10 templates. So I'm going to create a new survey invitation, and we'll give this a subject here. We have the training from, or the email that it's coming from, as well as the from name. So I can change this be a little friendlier. And then I have in the body of my invitation, I can change this. So we'll get rid of all of it, and we're going to have a bit of more information following those best practices. So, and we're going to personalize this as well using those custom variable callouts. All right, so you'll see that we included information. We said why we want them to take the survey, how long it should take them, as well as telling them that we're going to ask for information and why we're asking for that information. So let's do a little bit of personalization here. You'll see I have two options down here at the bottom. I have the survey link and I have the variables. So let's look at variables first. Now, just the same way that I call these out in my survey is how I'm going to call them out here. So hi custom one, and then we have our information. So I can use any of these, and when I map them, if I had saved that mapping, then it would be updated with my mapping. And now we're going to talk about the survey links in the invitation. There are two different types of survey links that we have created. We have the tracked respondents link and we have the anonymous respondents link. The tracked respondents link is the one that I'm going to use here, and that has the ability of checking who has completed and who hasn't. Now, when I do that, that means that I can send a reminder email later, and it will only go to those people who have not yet taken the survey. If I use the anonymous respondents link, I lose that ability of being able to do that follow-up only with the people who have not taken my survey. So I'm going to include this link, but if I wanted to, I could include the anonymous respondents link, and I can change the text here to whatever I would like it to be. So we'll save that. And you'll see that it's saved as a new template. So now I can preview this, how it's going to look for my respondents. I'll see that it's looking pretty good. I can edit this, or I can send to a particular list. So to send, I click that send, and now I can select the list. So I have my default lists, and then I have all of my global lists. And just because I had other people that I don't want to include there, I'm going to go with this list here. And I can choose which template I want to use. So you'll see on the left, under from email and from name, I can choose either of my templates. So we'll go with template 2. And now we'll send the email. So I've sent that email. Once I have sent the email, within a short while, I can go and I can set up a reminder. And I can schedule this reminder to automatically send later, or I can send the reminder immediately. So you can automate that, or send an automatic reminder. You set it, you forget about it, it sends for you. So that is all about sending the survey right from within QuestionPro, personalizing that invitation, sending it out, and personalizing the survey itself using those custom variables. Now that we've covered that, let's take a look at some of our other options for sending a survey. We have here a number of other options. We'll start with the website embed. So we have a website feedback tab, we have embedding straight onto the web page, we have pop-up surveys, we have an exit survey, which is when someone visits your website and then they close the tab or they move on to a new website, you can pop up an invitation for them to take your survey, as well as an HTML link that you can use. You can embed. We give you the URL already in the HTML code for you to be able to embed this into your website as well. And this is different from embedding into a web page, which just takes the entire survey and embeds the entire thing into your web page, as opposed to just having a link ready for you to be able to put into your website. So that is some of the website feedback, the website embed options. We also have panels, so you can, if you need a group of targeted respondents, you can click by respondents. You can tell us what you need and we will get a quote back to you for being able to use that panel. You can post to your social networks. So Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, if I connect these to my accounts, then I can just write a post for each of these and it will share my survey on those networks. I can also generate a QR code, and we have these already integrated in different print options for you as well. So I can print the QR code or I can save this image and it will take users directly to my survey when they scan it with their mobile device. Or I can include it on a business card. I can update this with my logo. I can also update pretty much everything about this except for the QR code. And then I can have a card, a 4x6 card, or a table tent, or a wall sign, an 8 by 11 wall sign. And you can see I can customize these themes. I can change them to my heart's content. And then I can export to a PDF, and then I can send them to whatever printer I use to generate that information. So that's our QR code. And then we also have the offline survey app. So this is a mobile app that we use, that we have available, and you can use it if you are in a location that does not have great internet access. You can actually collect the information offline and then upload it back to your account the next time that you have an internet connection. So we have our device keys available for that, and then we also have the API key available if you want to set up API, which is much more technical than I want to get into today. But if you are interested in that, you can certainly ask us about it. And that is our send survey options. Please feel free to use the Q&A module within GoToWebinar, and we can answer some of your questions for you. I forgot to mention we also have SMTP Relay, which means that if you have an organizational email system that you want to use instead of sending from within QuestionPro, you can still set up your email list. You can still set up all those custom variables. You export all of that information, and you can use your SMTP Relay. You can use your organization's email to be able to send those surveys. I'll give a little bit of time for people to put the questions together. At the end of this month, we are going to be having a special free training all about the website feedback surveys. So that whole section that you saw about pop-ups and about the website feedback tab, we will be covering those in detail at that time. I will be sending the registration link in our follow-up email. And next week, we're going to be talking about reporting and all of the stuff that you can do from within QuestionPro for reports for your surveys. If you need at any time to contact us for support, you can do so via questionpro.com/help, or if you're in the app and you see that live chat on the side, you can always click that and connect you up to one of our fabulous support members. Or you can request a one-on-one demo and get your questions answered one-on-one by going to 1v1demo.questionpro.com. Thank you very much for attending, and hope to see you next week as we talk about reporting options.